So this is one where it's very easy to throw stuff at central government, and I do like throwing stuff at central government because there is. But yeah,
what would you like to throw? What would you like to throw? What would you say? So, what would be your criticisms of Bayes?
I would say government as a whole. I would say there is a lack of clear, coherent consumer strategy across government. There's a lack of proper joined up regulatory strategy across government. So when you looked at something like horse meat in food, to be told that that's a technical food issue, so we can't deal with it, I can't speak to the consumer minister about that. No, that's a consumer protection issue. So yes, you might have to deal with many government departments, but let's have the consumer minister actually being the consumer minister, being that clear, responsible, where every single issue relating to the consumer goes through that. They need to stop throwing stuff at local government. A few years ago we printed off, we paid chambers and we got a list of all bits of legislation. So, and I'm sure it's grown, but at the time it was 256 pieces of legislation, the vast majority of which have come in since austerity. So stop it. Yeah, stop that. Be honest, and turn around and say we can't enforce this. This sense of we can do everything. Just so what we're giving you is we're giving you a statutory framework, not statutory duties. So let's have some honesty, because I think it was Barnsley, and it was the best consultation I'd ever seen, because they said we are going to cut this, and this is the implication of that. Real absolute clarity about what they were doing.
Honest and transparent.
Yeah, and that's it. We say we're still doing everything. We're not, but we never did. There was gaps in consumer enforcement, going back to when I started in the late 80s, and there will be gaps all the way going forward. So saying we've only got this amount of resource, we've got to do that. And the other thing is shying away from difficult conversations. I still believe we've got structural issues in how we tackle enforcement in this country. For me, I look at enforcement around product, place, and people. So place should sit within local government, because local government is much maligned, but local government has got some of the best people I've ever seen working, like some of the most passionate and diligent people, and they are brilliant at place. They are place shapers par excellence. They understand their communities, they understand what their communities need. But the vast majority. So when you look at place, that's the stuff around licensing. That's the stuff around if it happens in an area, that's fine, and that's perfectly there. But most consumer protection isn't like that anymore. We've already spoken. Oscar, shut up.
I don't know where mine is. He's gone quiet.
But most consumer protection isn't about that. So you think about the supply chains we have. We have elongated, complex supply chains. So think about some of the issues we've been faced with. Whirlpool, it's not products. It's a part. It's a part that's gone not down there. It's gone in and out. So that's really complex. Horse meat, that was not taking place in the UK, but we were victims of that. The supply chains are like that. And you think about when we had all the issues with hoverboards, that wasn't. That was really difficult, because you haven't got, here's an importer bringing them in and then supplying 22 wholesalers who then, you've got people going, oh, I want one, I might as well buy 10 and sell 9. So the wrong place to intervene in kind of market surveillance and product safety is in shops at the retail point. So it's about how do you then analyse that? Yet we still put the resources at a local level, and I think it's the same with people. Yes, we can look after individual people, but criminals cross boundaries now. Now, are we going to get structural reform? No, we're not. So let's park that. If we started from scratch, I have often said this to UK government, is you've advised a lot of countries on regulatory reform and regulatory structures. You've never advised one country to have the system we have. But we've got it. And structural reform saves you no money or anything like that. But where does accountability lie then? Because you can't, we've spoken about Peterborough, you can't have accountability sitting in a poor councillor in Peterborough making that decision. So this is, you've got, stick the funding centrally, stick the accountability centrally, stick the delivery locally. And then you start to get a model that makes sense. So you get a model where you can go as a consumer protection partnership. You know, these are the real challenges and the real issues that we have. So we need to go and address that. Okay, what we can say is in the system, you know, your local trading standards probably gets, services have less than £200,000 as a service. Now, the last prosecution I signed off when I was at Cambridgeshire, it cost us £500,000. And that's 10 years ago. So you've got prosecution.
No one's doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can't afford it. So go to central government. Go, right, this is the bit in your system that's about place. You know, say it's a third. The other 2/3 of what you have locally is for us to be able to direct and say we want this doing. And that. So what I would say is we need some real brave. We need to see that consumer command paper say this is what we want regulation to do. This is what we want the relationship between central government and local government to look like. And don't lose that. Don't lose that in it's all about localism. It's all about local determination. Because I'm a great believer in that, and decisions should be made at the most local level. That makes sense. So you wouldn't let a parish council look after a motorway going through their area.
Yeah.
But you let them have the footpaths. So again, this is where we need some strong leadership. This is where we need to turn around. We can't necessarily pump more money in the system, but it's how do we give it profile? How do we make sure that regulation has the right profile, consumer protection has the right profile locally, when you've got poor old councillors having to deal with, you know, the things that come through the door. We haven't collected my bins. I've got a pothole. You know, there's kids hanging around on the corner. So it's a real difficult one, and this is where you need that national joined up strategy. You know, and this is the whole reason. You know, back in 2008 when the local Better Regulation Office was first established, its job was to coordinate central government's regulatory demands on local government and say, here's a set of priorities. So do that. You know, here's a set of priorities. We don't care about, well, we do care about everything else, but everything else is a tool for you to deliver a better place. So you go and use those tools to deliver a better place. These are the 4 or 5 things we're going to tell you are the key national priorities for you to deliver as local authorities. And then that's about using the structure you have to deliver better outcomes. And then you go to the community, you've got to coordinate this. I've got to say, the one thing that Trading Standards does really well is work in partnership and coordinate. So you've got a regional network that's been around for years that understands working together. You've got National Trading Standards that's come together and proven that we can do that. So you've already got a mechanism for allocating funding out, setting priorities. Just be brave and say, you do with local, whatever that is, you stand accountable for that. We're accountable for these 5 things. We're going to tell you to do these 5 things. And every other piece of legislation we do is about you and local. These are the things that are going to protect the UK. Now, when was the last pricing prosecution in this country? And we're probably going back to Birmingham and the strawberries in about.
I was just going to say it's the Tesco strawberries, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't say I would say the Trading Standards Department, but the company. But it is. But we still make decisions on prices. But it's never going to hit a local issue, is it? Because it's small, isn't it? You know, it's not big. But you look at consumer detriment for people not switching. You know, you look at consumer detriment for small scale weights and measures offences, for example, never get priority. But you do that in high value areas like scrap metal or precious metals, or you do that on products that go far and wide. That 1p a pack soon adds up. But in a locality, it's really hard to justify that to local politicians when they make really tough decisions. So this is in no way to be critical of politicians because they're making really difficult decisions. This is just saying to central government, own regulation, own consumer and own business, set the framework, set the strategies there, be absolutely clear what you want your regulators to deliver. Those that you own and control centrally, you've got that relationship. The local ones, give them the framework and hold them to account to that framework. So then if someone's failing, you can go, we've asked you to do this, you haven't done that. But we've lost all the indicators, you know, and we've lost that. And that's worked really well. And this is where you get caught up. It's worked really well in many ways for local government, that freedom to understand their place and work like that. But even the NAO says it doesn't really work for small services, because you struggle to get that profile. You struggle to understand the values of those cuts and what that means, because you often don't see that. We've done a hell of a lot of work as a collective, for example, on stopping young people smoke. And we'll see the benefits of that, you know, 15, 20 years down the line. Now, if vaping and our focus goes elsewhere, and young people start smoking again, we won't see the impact of that for another 25. So it's really hard in an instant world to say what we're stopping doing is we're stopping things going wrong. Yeah. And you won't notice us until we're not there, because if we get our job right, if training standards officers get their job right, 9 times out of 10 you shouldn't notice us, because we've worked with businesses to get that right.
Yeah.
And then we can go and do the high profile cases where we're targeting basically the scumbags, and you know, and they are scumbags. They prey on the vulnerable, and they're the people who should have a book thrown at them. You know, and we're good at that, and we're really good at that, and get better at that. And politicians love that because it's high profile. What we need to do is maintain the investment in the preventative work we do, because 99% of that is what we do, and this is where you take the strategy away, you lose those drivers. You take performance indicators away, you lose those drivers. It's just a weird world, isn't it? You know, you can say these are voluntary performance indicators, but you ask someone to measure it, they're going to go and do it, because no one wants to come bottom in that table. So we've taken away a lot of that infrastructure, and what we have is some really good people doing some really fantastic work, but without us being able to pull that together and saying, right, this is the impact of 1, 2, and 3. This is the difference we're making to UK consumers. And so that I suppose that's the biggest challenge I would throw at central government. It's not about funding, because their funding goes up and down, and we just have to accept that. It is the abject failure to set out a coherent strategy that says this is what we want to see for consumer protection, and this is what we want to see from our regulators locally and nationally delivering on that.